You place a bet, you lose, but instead of walking away, your hand moves to place the next bet anyway. You don't do this because you are weak. You do it because something inside you is convinced, genuinely, physically convinced, that the next outcome will be different. That feeling is not an accident. It has a clinical name. It is called anticipatory dopamine release, and the people who designed the betting app on your phone studied that exact chemical response for decades before they wrote a single line of code. They know exactly which colors trigger it. They know exactly which sound frequencies amplify it. You think you are playing a game? You are actually inside a machine that is playing you. And to understand the scale of this machine, you have to look at the math. In 2023, the global online gambling industry generated $463 billion in revenue. That is more money than the entire music industry, the film industry, and the video game industry combined. But what is truly terrifying is not how much money they made, it is exactly who they took it from. According to government research, 80% of that massive revenue comes from just 5% of users, the most vulnerable, addicted people on Earth. So the question is not why do people gamble? The question is, how did a multi-billion-dollar industry learn to hack the human brain so perfectly that giving away your life savings feels like a choice? To understand how this became possible, we need to go back to one very specific document, a patent filed in Nevada on June 21, 1984. The applicant was a mechanical engineer named Inge Telnis, and the 9 pages he submitted that afternoon would quietly become one of the most consequential and least discussed legal documents of the 20th century. At the time, physical slot machines were a profitable but limited technology. Each reel contained 20 to 22 symbols. The laws of physics were inflexible. The probability of hitting a jackpot could be calculated by any high school student with a pencil. And when customers understood the odds, they played differently. They were rational, or at least partially rational, about when to stop. The industry needed to destroy that rationality entirely. Telnis' solution was elegant in its deception. His patent, U.S. Patent 4,448,419, proposed decoupling the spinning physical reels entirely from the actual mathematical outcome. A hidden microprocessor, invisible to the player, would determine whether you won or lost the precise millisecond the button was pressed. The reels continued to spin for 3 to 5 seconds afterward. They were theater. They were a choreographed illusion designed to simulate a fair game that had already been decided before the performance began. But Telnis went further. His virtual reel mapping allowed the physical reels to be stopped in a precise configuration that the industry would later call the near miss. The jackpot symbol, a cherry, a 7, a bar, could be made to land just above the pay line, close enough to cause a physical stress response in the player, close enough to feel like failure by a margin so narrow it seems like luck, close enough to make the next bet feel inevitable. What actually happened in that moment? In 2003, Dr. Luke Clark, a neuroscientist at the University of Cambridge, placed 32 gambling subjects inside a functional magnetic resonance imaging scanner and asked them to play a computerized slot machine. When a subject won, the ventral striatum, the brain's primary reward processing region, lit up with a measurable surge of dopamine. When a subject lost cleanly, the ventral striatum went quiet. But when a subject experienced a near miss, the jackpot symbol one position above the pay line, the ventral striatum lit up with 62% of the intensity of an actual win. The brain processed a program loss as a partial victory. The machine had successfully hacked the brain's evaluation system at the neurochemical level. This is the first thing you need to understand about the industry. It does not sell entertainment. It sells a synthetic neurochemical experience that your brain cannot accurately evaluate. And because it controls the math, it guarantees the outcome. In casino mathematics, there is a concept called the hold percentage. It is the exact percentage of every dollar deposited that the platform is mathematically guaranteed to keep over time. The hold percentage is not calculated per bet, it is calculated per session. The longer the machine can keep you playing, the closer the hold percentage moves to 100%. The only way to win is to stop, and the entire interface was built to make stopping impossible. But that's not the worst part. In 1994, International Game Technology, the corporation that had acquired Telnis' original patent for an undisclosed sum, controlled approximately 65% of all slot machines operating in the United States. By 2005, that number had grown to cover more than 400,000 machines across every major gaming jurisdiction in North America. The near miss was no longer an innovation, it was infrastructure. And while the mathematical architecture of the machines was being perfected, the physical architecture around them was being redesigned just as deliberately. Look at the floor of any major casino and ask one question. Where are the windows? There are none. There are no clocks on any wall. The ventilation systems in Bellagio, the MGM Grand and Caesar's Palace circulate air at a slightly elevated oxygen content, enough to reduce fatigue and sharpen sensory alertness without crossing any regulatory threshold. The carpets are not ugly by accident. David Cranis, a design consultant who worked with multiple major casino operators in the 1990s, documented that the deliberately chaotic geometric carpet patterns, jagged lines, clashing colors, were engineered to create mild visual disorientation. When the floor is visually uncomfortable to look at, your eyes instinctively seek the nearest comfortable focal point, which is a screen. Dr. Natasha Dow-Schull, an anthropologist at New York University, spent 15 years conducting fieldwork on casino gambling floors. Her 2012 book, Addiction by Design, documented how the industry's internal business metric had quietly shifted by the mid-1990s. The traditional model, extracting a large one-time sum from a player, was replaced by a new metric, time on device, abbreviated in internal company reports as TOD. Revenue projections were no longer calculated per player. They were calculated per hour of continuous engagement. The objective was not to win a large amount from you. The objective was to keep you sitting down. The industry gave this psychological state a name. Players themselves named it. They called it the machine zone. The machine zone is a specific altered state of consciousness. It has been documented in clinical literature by Dr. Schull and independently observed by addiction researchers at the University of Nevada, Reno. In the machine zone, the external world loses resolution. Financial reality, hunger, physical pain, and social obligation, all of it becomes background noise. There is only the screen, the rhythm of the button, and the variable pulse of the reward signal. Internal industry design documents obtained by Schull through Freedom of Information Act requests contain language that is remarkable for its clinical directness. One memo from a major machine manufacturer specified that the goal of ergonomic seating design was to provide continuous gaming productivity, a phrase that describes the human body being optimized as a component inside a revenue-generating machine. They removed the lever because the arm motion required a physical effort. They removed the coin tray because counting coins forced you to confront how much you had spent. They introduced the ticket in, ticket out system, a printed paper receipt, because paper feels less real than coins. Every modification was designed to remove 1 more millimeter of friction between your impulse and your loss. But physical casinos, even at their most perfectly engineered, had one inescapable limitation. You had to go there. You had to get in a car. You had to walk through the door. The commute was a cooling off period, 30, 40, 60 minutes during which your prefrontal cortex could reassert some influence over your behavior. That friction was the last psychological firewall standing between the industry and total access to your nervous system. Here is where it gets truly interesting. In 2006, the United Kingdom passed the Gambling Act, which for the first time permitted fully online betting platforms to operate legally at scale, targeting mobile users directly. The industry did not celebrate, it recognized it. It understood immediately that the mobile phone was not a new delivery mechanism for gambling. The mobile phone was the elimination of every single firewall simultaneously. No commute, no cash exchange, no social environment reminding you that other humans exist. Your bank account connected directly to the interface by biometric authentication. You look at your phone, your face unlocks the door, and the money moves in under 3 seconds. What replaced the physical architecture of manipulation was something far more precise. An online gambling platform does not present you with a static game. It presents you with a dynamic behavioral profile of yourself. Every session, it is gathering data. It knows the average number of milliseconds you pause before placing a bet when you are on a winning streak. It knows how that pause changes when you are losing. It knows which game formats trigger your longest sessions. It knows exactly what time of day, which hour, which day of the week your spending velocity is highest. And it uses that data in real time to modulate your experience. This is the mathematical completion of what B.F. Skinner demonstrated at Harvard in 1948. Skinner placed pigeons in operant conditioning chambers, later called Skinner boxes, and taught them to press a lever to receive food. When the lever produced food on a fixed, predictable schedule, the pigeons pressed it only when they were hungry. They remained rational. But when Skinner switched the delivery to what he called a variable ratio schedule, a reward that came at random, unpredictable intervals, the pigeon's behavior changed completely. It pressed the lever compulsively, continuously, frantically. Not when it was hungry, always, because the uncertainty itself became the compulsion. The variable ratio schedule is the most behaviorally potent reinforcement mechanism that exists in psychology. Every slot machine ever manufactured is built on this exact foundation, and online platforms have extended it far beyond anything Skinner could have modeled. But what happens when even the algorithm cannot retain you? What happens when the data shows you are at risk of leaving, that you are attempting to withdraw your funds, that you have been absent for 72 hours, that your session times are declining? This is where the industry escalates from software to human beings. Academic research published in 2021 by the Victorian Responsible Gambling Foundation in Australia, analyzing records from 4 major online betting operators, found that the top 5% of users by spending volume generated between 73 and 81% of total platform revenue. The industry calls this segment VIPs. Problem gambling researchers at the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine, in a 2020 study led by Dr. Sally McManus, call them something more accurate: high-harm users. When an algorithm flags a high-value user as at risk of churning, a protocol is triggered. The user is assigned a named personal account manager, a VIP host. The VIP host's performance metrics are tied directly to player retention and player deposit volume. Their job is not to help you. Their job is to keep your money inside the ecosystem. They will call you on your personal phone number. They will send personalized messages on your birthday. They will offer you free bonus credits calibrated precisely to the amount that keeps you gambling without triggering a withdrawal impulse. They will offer you tickets to sporting events, paid hotel stays, exclusive access. They deploy intimacy, familiarity, and manufactured loyalty as tools of financial extraction. In any other commercial context, this person's role would have a different name. They would be called a handler. And look at the transaction architecture itself, the fundamental design of how money moves inside these applications. When you want to deposit funds, the process requires 1 biometric authentication and completes in under 4 seconds. When you want to withdraw funds, when you want to take your own money back, something different happens. The frictionless interface disappears. You are required to submit identity verification documents you may not have immediately available. You are informed that withdrawal requests require a processing period of 24 to 48 hours. This delay is not caused by banking infrastructure limitations. Instant payment systems that transfer funds in under 6 seconds have existed since 2017. The delay is a deliberate psychological intervention. Research on decision reversals published by Dr. Keith White of the National Council on Problem Gambling found that a majority of players who initiated a withdrawal and then experienced a waiting period ultimately canceled the withdrawal and returned the funds to play. The entry point is greased with precision. The exit point is engineered to fail. And now consider where else you experience this exact architecture. Every time you pull down to refresh your social media feed, you are executing the lever press from Skinner's experiment. The content that loads is selected by a variable ratio algorithm, non-predictable, impossible to anticipate, occasionally rewarding. The red notification badge on your home screen is a near-miss signal. Something happened. You almost missed it. The dopamine response it triggers is structurally identical to the ventral striatum activation Dr. Luke Clark recorded in 2003. In 2017, Sean Parker, the founding president of Facebook, stated publicly at an Axios event that the platform was deliberately designed to exploit a vulnerability in human psychology, specifically the brain's response to social validation delivered on a variable schedule. He used a specific phrase to describe the design goal. He said, "How do we consume as much of your time and conscious attention as possible?" Parker did not discover this goal by studying social behavior. The social media industry mapped it directly from the behavioral architecture of the gambling industry. The slot machine was not an isolated product. It was the prototype. It was the proof of concept for an attention economy that now operates across every platform you use daily. The industry that Ingetel Nyes helped engineer in 1984 did not stay in the casino. It studied what made you stay. It extracted the mechanism, and it scaled it across every screen you own. The screen flashes bright gold. A cascade of digital notifications rains down. Your nervous system registers a win, but you are always losing, and now you know exactly why.